In modern fitness culture, temporary aesthetic beauty often comes at the expense of the body, soul, and true long-term vitality. At Mount Athos Performance, we believe in more than just looking good. We're on a mission to fuel a holistic lifestyle of health, a lifestyle that prepares you for every moment, from work to recreation. Built on purity, sustainability, and the pursuit of excellence, our products support functional fitness for everyday resilience and longevity. Welcome to Mount Athos Performance.
There we go. Hey, y'all. Welcome to Waterbreak.
Hello.
It's good to be with you. We are second week back from the conference. I'm actually feeling a little more recovered at this point.
Yeah, you're behaving more recovered also.
Am I behaving more?
It's quite a week.
It is.
Gaby is tired and poor that first week.
Well, and then like basketball started.
I know.
And then
the
election night show, and then I had one early morning meeting, so there's just no time to catch up.
No,
so
it's bad.
Next year we got to take the week off afterwards, at least a little bit.
You need that
brutal.
more than I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we should. So
it's brutal.
A little bit of downtime, a little bit of recovery.
So it's no quarter November. If you guys know anything
Yes.
about Moscow's kind of no quarter November,
Oh my
you
gosh.
should.
It's like one of my favorite things in the world.
Megan Basham today tweeted out the flag, no quarter November flag.
Oh, did she really?
As it related to Trump's administration and all the appointees. He's like, no quarter November for Trump.
Yeah,
And
seriously.
his administration
It
that he's
works.
putting together. Loving it.
Yeah.
Loving it. If you guys
Yeah.
haven't caught any cross politics shows this week, we actually talk about, basically Trump's plan for 2025. We talk about who he's brought into his administration, the good and the bad. I don't like everybody he brought in.
What show is that? I would like to
It's
listen
the
to
last two shows.
the last two shows. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch back up, get my head out of the sand.
Probably
Pay
Tuesday's
attention.
shows, probably
Okay.
the more complete show on that, because Wednesday we just kind of do an update on what happened and everything. So
Well, send me the link if you think.
I will. All right. So our boy Pete Hegseth, we're really excited about him. Secretary of Defense, solid Christian brother. Excited about Joel Soliton. He's involving Joel in kind of the ag side of things.
That's
it's just good seeing
pretty
like some
cool.
Reformed Presbyterian Christians getting in President's administration, as opposed to in Biden's administration, you get a bunch of trannies and men who want to be women. And all
there's like
this.
no comparison.
No comparison.
No.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
well, because of no quarter in November, the reason why we bring that up is because Annie decided to turn this show into No Quarter November Health, NQN Health.
Yes, Waterbreak addiction. It's such a good idea. It came to me when I was in the Walmart parking lot.
It made me happy
like,
instantly.
do you know what we should do?
Instant happiness with controversy.
Yes, just drop a bunch of like our most controversial opinions and just say
and some
them.
of these might even be the shot that we don't know.
Gabe's not read any of
Everything's
this, right?
no, I haven't.
So most of these I wrote them. Once I had my brilliant epiphany, I've just been like putting them into my notes as I've thought of them. Oh, here's a good one.
Yeah.
And they're all really my opinions. I really do think them. And I'm going to try. No, it's hard because no quarter November, like one of the biggest things about it
no qualifications
is that he doesn't qualify.
Yeah.
But these I'm going to have to explain. Okay. I won't call it qualify, but I'm going to have to explain, or it's not going to make sense.
Yeah,
we're going to say our really controversial opinions, and then we're going to talk about it, and you can agree or not agree. Okay. You can, try not to get your feelings hurt, guys. Cause I put some fun ones in.
And of course, these are in no particular order. Of course, they're just kind of random order.
Yeah, totally.
But they all have different, maybe controversial issues that are maybe being touched on or disagreement, something like that. So
yeah.
So
Big
for
time.
number one, I like actually where you start here. Actually, I got some questions to ask you about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So no quarter November. My wife thinks most women should quit their jobs. That's number one. Most. Now you did say most.
I said most, and I mean it. I say this all the time. Most women should quit their jobs. And to be clear, I mean like jobs.
You have a job.
I do. I mean jobs outside the home. Like obviously you can't just throw in the towel as a mom if you're having a hard time.
Can't quit that one.
Quit that one. Yeah, you're not supposed to. I mean, like if you have a job.
This St. Michelle's.
Yeah, isn't it pretty good?
It's hitting
we
it
thought
well.
wine would be appropriate for this particular show. What are you?
We should have introduced the show as like, hey, grab a glass of wine first.
No, wine break.
Yeah,
we could do it. We could make it a monthly thing. Okay,
wine break instead of water break. That is so good.
We could easily do it.
Carter, make a file or a card, or wine break.
Wine break, which is
Make it
better
kind of
than
the same
Waterbreak.
one, but with like wine dripping from behind or something. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
That's
you
funny.
could get a backdrop for it. We could do it once a month, and we could just whatever our hardest topic is, we'll just
wine break. Yeah, hey guys, it's wine break today.
It's not going to help you guys, but it's going to help us.
It's going to lower your blood pressure. yeah. It's definitely going to help us. All right, so most women should quit their jobs. I mean, where's this coming from?
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. And yeah, like you said, I have a job outside the house. I have as long as we've been married.
Yeah.
It's obviously we've made adjustments.
Yeah.
But
your job, and you can also, in a lot of ways, define your own hours.
Yeah. So my job's
you would teach Pilates at 5:30 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
And,
my job's more unique than other like standard 8 to 5 jobs. Okay, so I am saying this, you guys, from personal experience, having been we'll just put some of the working mom, whatever that means. It's like moms who don't work outside the home aren't working. It's really stupid. It's a full-time job, no matter what. But I've been a working mom for, well, how old is Liv? 14 years.
14
so
years,
I'm speaking from personal experience heavily. And I'm also speaking from the experience of working with, talking to, troubleshooting with so many women over the years. Many of which have worked in some capacity, full-time, part-time, whatever. And I'm just, I'm here to say that my opinion has shifted over time. And at this point in time, from where I stand, I do not believe that there are very many women who can have, especially young children, I would say, especially when they're little, and be a healthy person, a happy person, a good wife, and a good mom, and also tackle some sort of extra job outside the house. I just see so many women attempt that, whether or not they just kind of bought that feminist lie that women just need to do that. I don't think it makes you a feminist if you do it. Again, I do it. I'm just saying a lot of women, I think they just are like, well, I have to work, like I have to, or there's like financial pressure. I don't know. I don't know what it is. They just can't, but I've just seen so many women not be able to do a good job at home. And while I have no problem theoretically with women working outside the house, I believe very strongly, especially as Christian women, and especially when we get into the role of not just being a wife, but a mother, your number one priority is killing it at home. Yeah. And if you're not killing it at home, you have no business then also trying to do extra things in the next circle out. No matter how great the job is, how flexible it is, how fulfilling it is. And I mean, I know there's a lot of those situations out there. And I can't tell you how many women I have worked with, I have spoken to, I have, whatever. They're not thriving spiritually, mentally, emotionally at all. Or
the relationship with their husband.
And because of that, their relationship with their husband is not good. It is not what it should be. They're so overwhelmed and understandably so. It's a lot. Okay. Right. Like it really is. It is a full-time gig to be a mom who's committed to running an entire household, taking care of a husband, taking care of children, and everything that means. Right. That's nutrition, that's laundry, that's driving people, that's scheduling. It's not, it's everything, right? It's a full-time job. So if you're talking about adding anything else on top of that pulls you away from that, I'm not saying it's wrong, but that's extra. Yeah. And you're working overtime. Yeah. That's overtime work, right? So I want to acknowledge that. And that is one of the reasons that I think so many women try it and it doesn't go well. Yeah. But I just can't believe how many women are doing so poorly. And also, since this is a show about health and fitness, and that's kind of, where we're coming from, there are so many women who are not taking care of their bodies, their own health, and because they're the ones who do the cooking and the food prep and the planning, by extension, their families, because they simply do not have time or the energy or the mental or emotional bandwidth to do that because they're too busy working. Yeah. And that, I think, is irresponsible and wrong. And I'm just, again, it's no quarter November. I'm just going to say the things that I think. I think it's doable for some people, but it's not a lot of you. It's not a lot of you. It's very, very hard. You have to be very disciplined. You have to be on it. You have to, you just got to have your crap together. Some women are more naturally up to that task than others. And I'm just, it doesn't even matter how you get there. It's just one way or another. Most women that I talk to, I'm like, you need to quit your job. Yeah, that would solve a lot. What do you mean you don't have time to cook dinner for your family? That's like priority number one. Yeah. And the fact that you're even sitting here having a conversation with me saying, well, I have to work as a dental whatever. So I can't make dinner for my own family. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not sitting here talking to any of you girls and telling you that you're lazy. That's usually not the problem. It's usually trying to do way too much.
Yeah.
And absolutely just being crushed under that. And usually it's the at-home stuff that goes, you know? So I feel pretty strongly about this. And if you can't take care of your own health and the health of your family, which is that a lot of that falls on you, just in the very practical sense, right? Then you're doing it wrong, and you need to start saying no to other things. And I will also say that, I'm talking about any kind of, full-time, part-time job that you might, traditional job that you might be doing outside of the house, but also this could be, book clubs or Bible studies that you insist on running, or volunteering at your kids' school, just anything that you're like, well, I just have to do it. It's so fulfilling, or I feel pressure, or I like just stop, like stop it. If you're not thriving at home, and by extension, your husband is not doing well, your kids aren't doing well, you can't be happy. You can't be a high energy, fun, present mother who is fully capable of doing the very hard work of taking care of your own health and the health of your family. Then you have no business doing those things. You might be able to add them in later once you get yourself together. You know what I mean? But like, get your priorities straight and be willing to quit.
I got there's a number of practical issues here.
Yeah.
One is I didn't write it down, so I want to say it right now. One is, me and Annie, I've always said with our family is like, especially as it relates to sports, like we reserve the right to always change our schedule.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
You can say no to
everything. And dad particularly has to probably end up making the tough call.
Yes.
And sometimes, that's my job.
Yes.
And that means, sports with our kids. Like, I mean, some families do like 3 sports for each one single kid. And I'm just like,
well, we do that,
but even in that, I'm like, I reserve the right to keep my kid home if I need to sometimes, because it's just too much.
Or just not do it at all. Like,
or not do it.
And we're using sports as an example.
But my point is, like, you guys are the family unit, and dad particularly, you're in charge of your schedule, and don't let the school or the sport or this dictate kind of what is acceptable to you and your family. Sometimes you have to make a hard decision. Now, I'm not saying
just because everybody else is doing it does not mean you have to do
exactly.
It. And that's the thing.
Now, of course, you need to be committed. If you commit to something, commit. Yeah. If you're going to play basketball and you can play basketball to be a good teammate, you got to commit.
And some of this takes hard work and sacrifice and all that stuff.
But the point is, like, you set the schedule. It's your fault if the schedule's messed up, and it's your responsibility to fix the schedule.
Totally. I'm just back to, on the note of, where dad or the husband is involved in this scenario. For so many women, I do believe, and this is just the nature of how God made men and women different. And there's room for different personalities and different dynamics. I understand
and different abilities too. Yeah,
totally. We're an interesting dynamic, and I'm aware of that. Not all women are like me, not all men are like you, but ultimately, God really did design men to lead and protect their family, their wife in particular. And there are so many women, I know there's some exceptions, but there's so many women who, if they are trying to hold down this job outside the house and their health is bad, their kids' health is bad, it's not going well at home, I think there's so many women who would quit in a heartbeat happily if their husband was like, let's do this. It's not working. There is no financial pressure on you to pay the bills. That's my job. You shouldn't have to do it. I want you to be able to come home, have more time, get more sleep, have time to research how to make good meals, have time to get a gym membership and get your body back together, have time to take our kid, spend more time with her, whatever it is that's missing. Like, so often it's not, the woman would happily be like, thank you, because it's already a full-time job at home. She knows it, he knows it, and she's just trying to do all this extra stuff on top of it. That it's just
sometimes women put pressure on themselves.
Totally.
When there doesn't need to be any pressure there.
We are not good at initiating it. You know what I mean? Like it being our idea. Like, you know what I should do? I can, but I'm not. That's not normal. Like and even you. For years, there's been an ongoing conversation about you just generally being like, I think you should work a little less, and me pushing back and being like, no, it's fine. And in hindsight, I think you were right. Right. You were right. And when I talk to younger moms, I'm like, if in doubt, when your kids are young, work less. Yeah. Like if in doubt, just work less. You will not regret it. Right. Like you will not 100%. Regret reading another book. Getting an extra hour of sleep so that you can be the best, funnest mom possible. Like you will not regret it, and do not look at that as not work. It's the most important thing you'll ever do. Yeah. So
now
there we go.
Related, kind of again, I got some more practice. So the wine's so good today.
No, we're gonna
wine break.
We're not even gonna get past our
no,
first
we aren't.
controversial.
This is actually, I got tons of notes here.
You wrote. Did you write those just
now? Just now we're talking.
He's been
now
writing in his diary.
I encourage you, especially those maybe who aren't Christians who are listening to our show or just kind of somewhat familiar but don't really know scriptures very well. I encourage you to read like Proverbs 31 about this because it paints a really industrial woman. I
love Proverbs 31.
So it's not a woman buys, sells property, it's not, so there's but she's industrial. By industrial, I don't mean like she's out in the industrial world. She's a very industrious woman. She's working hard. She's involved in taking care of her family on all levels, early in the morning, late at night, clothes, buying and selling property, the kind of food she gets in the market. She has strong arms, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so what we aren't saying is go home and be lazy with your one kid at home kind of thing.
Right.
So there's the other ditch to this where it's like, okay, I'm raising kids. I've had one kid. And so I need to be home and I'm going to what ends up happening is you end up kind of being lazy at home and not industrious at home.
I know it's weird. That's totally a thing. That women could do, and laziness is or just avoiding hard things can be a very a thing that us ladies like to do. I just I wonder what like if we were to like poll our listeners or if I just think back on all like the demographic of
I think women in our community are very industrious.
But
I think
so it's hard to know like what who the we were going to put a percentage on it because you obviously don't be lazy like and
be industrious.
And if you're in a position where you're really like killing it at home and everything you need to get done is done by 10 a.m. and everything's squared away, feel free. I mean, like you can work outside the house. That's fine. It's just
related to my next point.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So my next point on that is modernity or the modern lifestyle, the modern luxuries that we have.
Yes.
So previously homemakers, were tilling the garden, growing tomatoes,
making soap.
Milking cows, making soap, making butter. I mean, like you had to do everything, all from scratch in a different world.
We're pretty spoiled,
and so you were very industrious at home, and now in the the 40s, 50s, 60s, all of a sudden you have a toaster,
right?
All of a sudden you have a food processor, washing machine. So it cut all your work in like. Probably change all that stuff into like a quarter of your time now. Maybe I'm, minimizing it too much.
Possible. It's so much easier.
It's so much easier now. You don't got to go to the river and wash our clothes anymore, right?
Thank goodness.
Now they would also wash less back then too.
Gross.
But the point is I think part of what's happened. This comes from my comments of like being industrious. Part of what has happened is wives need to think, what is the new way to be industrious given some of the tasks that I'm responsible for, but it takes me now 5 minutes to put the dishes in the dishwasher and then I'm off to the next race, So I think women need to be more creative right now, given kind of this new modern luxuries that we have. And also, but I would say don't avoid some of what makes the home so interesting, fun, and unique when it comes to this topic. So what I'm getting at it here is like, the temptation now is to go out to dinner every night and not cook a home meal, right? That it's cheap. It doesn't, it doesn't eat into more of the mom's time to have to cook and all that stuff.
It saves time.
I would be earthy about how you think about these things. Okay, we got this great modernization. It's a blessing. Refrigerators, all that stuff. But at the same time, I think it's as you're able. Make your own bread, make things that are healthy and maybe not buying into the medical industrial complex as you're able, avoid going out to dinner as much as you can because family around the dinner is so important, family around the home dinner table, not in a restaurant where everyone's talking, there's noise all around you. Building family around the dinner table is so important. So
well, I mean, that's good. That's true. That's a cultural reason to not do that. But one of the number one reasons that everybody's eating out all the time is because mom's too busy and too tired to actually make dinner. And that's a huge move. That's a huge issue with your health too. So that would totally fall into the category, in my opinion, of you not taking good care of your family's health. If you are having to eat fast food 3-4 nights a week because you can't make dinner, that's a problem.
Yeah. And part of my point, I'm trying to make a little different, deeper point than maybe what I'm trying to communicate. I think it's good that me and my son mow the yard. We could pay someone to mow the yard.
Yeah.
I think it's good that me and my son mow the yard. There's a connection to the reality of building a family on your own property. I think that's kind of being missed in all this.
And then like teach your kids also
to raise a chicken or something. If you have property, buy chickens. You know, if you have property, you know, build your home in such a way where you aren't losing. I mean, like for example, a couple of years ago, we several years in a row raised pigs and slaughtered them and had our own meat and that kind of thing. And the kids going through that process was so good.
Yes.
So I guess there's this connection to God's world that I'm trying to get at, kind of a deeper point.
I totally get it. And I think it's really synergistic to all the other things, which is usually how it works.
The other thing is,
oh my gosh, we're still,
I know. Reasons matter.
Okay.
So reasons for, you know, working outside the home matter. They could be good reasons or bad reasons. Yeah. And so you want to think through with your husband on why you as a family are doing what you guys are doing. So you could have bad reasons. You mentioned earlier, kind of the feminist reasons. Like you feel like you are not a good wife unless you're also working in the workforce.
Right. You're not really,
you've kind of bought into this weird lie.
Yeah, you haven't made it unless you're doing something.
Right. That's right.
Not being a mom or whatever.
So make sure your reasons are lining up with what the scriptures say.
Yes.
And not what modern feminism is trying to teach us. There's this, Doug had this great blog post. I sent you the blog post.
You did. I haven't read it yet. I've saved it though.
He was kind of getting at like this secondary kind of feminism that the church has kind of gotten comfortable with, or this Christian feminism that the church has gotten comfortable with. And
I need to read it.
Yeah, and it was just kind of helpful. Is a little more nuanced talking about feminism because he's trying to get at, hey, here's what the feminism is actually accepted in the church, and here's the areas where it's accepted. You know, right. That kind of thing. So, in the same way, wife going to work because she thinks she needs to make money, and report to another boss or whatever, but she's believing kind of the feminist lie about that. Get those reasons out of there. You know, get your reasons lined up with the Bible and all that. And lastly,
oh my gosh,
you got anything? You got anything to add to that?
Husbands, it's your job to pay the bills. Like for reals, like stop crapping that on your wife. One thing that stop it.
When me and Annie got married from the beginning, we knew that it was my job to provide for the house, the bills and stuff like that. So when Annie, we just said, whenever Annie made money, it can go to clothes for the kids. Like that's the Proverbs 31, right? Yeah. But what we also try to do is it could go to fun things like vacations that I can't pay for, save up for because I'm paying for the bills, right? Yeah. And so we've saved up her money in every other year or something. We take a big vacation with it because we've been saving her money. So I think maybe once or twice in our life we had to use your money for some bills because it was just a crazy month.
Yeah, but that was very few and far. But never ever do I feel pressure.
Yeah, to pay rent for the house or pay kids tuition or whatever.
Because of that, I don't feel pressure to work more or less at any given point. Like if I just want to be like, hey, we're gonna circle the wagons. I'm gonna cut my schedule way down like I do in the summers when the kids are home. I don't even think about financials, and that's. To your credit, because you have not ever put any pressure on me for that. So, and that's the only way to do it, I think.
And I think this is an important point because that's just part of the reason why a woman might feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know if we're gonna have money to pay our electric bill this month.
Right.
Well, husband, that's not her job to figure out. No, that's your problem.
It's not.
And don't let her feel that pressure, and don't let her even think about feeling that pressure.
She's already shouldering all the other stuff. That she's not supposed to. She's not made for that, and it's it's not her job. But anyways, should we move on to our second one?
Last one. I know. No quarter over. I'll just say you've already kind of touched on this a little bit, but husbands, you got to lead your wives in this, and wives, this is definitely a challenging area I think for you guys to submit in. Because that you're motivated or you feel guilty about it or whatever feelings you're feeling about trying to go to work out in the real world or whatever you want to call it. Work hard to submit to your husband in this area, because generally I think if a husband's telling his wife, hey, come on home, don't work, he has a lot of good or work less or whatever. He has a lot of good intentions there and what he's trying to get at for his family and for his wife.
Most of, I would think, usually yes.
I can't think of a negative reason why a husband would say that. I mean, unless he's trying to browbeat his wife or whatever, but that's a different problem.
Yeah, so, and it's at least in my experience, most of the time, when you've seen some things like that, like you've been right. And it's just, I totally agree with that.
Okay, no quarter to November. That's such a big one. You brought up such a big one.
I know. I
actually didn't have any thoughts until you started talking. You started giving me all sorts of thoughts, and that's why. I have a bunch
written down, so we could totally do a second show.
Well, I'm happy because it's still November.
It's still November for many more days.
Number 2, in no particular order, Annie thinks you shouldn't be a trainer if you don't look like one.
I have been saying this for years.
My wife has said this in a lot meaner language. So you pulled back on this one. You pulled back on this one.
I did.
Yeah. So let me just flesh this out for you.
Okay.
If you're 300 pounds and 5'5", you shouldn't be a trainer.
Well, not yet,
Yeah. You could get there.
It's not time.
You could get there.
Oh man, I have to do some explaining on this. Okay. Because I'm torn two different directions.
Okay.
For years, it has really bothered me in the industry that I work in when you meet someone or you know someone or whatever, and they're like, yeah, I'm a personal trainer. And I look at them and I'm like, I would never have guessed that was true based on what I am seeing here. Now, that might sound really terrible to some of you, and I understand that. Now, you have to take into account the nature of the job.
Yeah.
Okay. If you are like, I'm an engineer and you just don't look like you're a very fit person, I'm not going to question your abilities as an engineer.
Yeah.
I might just be like, well, you don't look healthy, but you might be a really great engineer.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Right,
because it doesn't, being a good engineer really doesn't, besides a sharp brain, it doesn't really require
a physical body, a physical look and appearance.
Yeah. So it just doesn't. And that's true for many jobs, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to being a personal trainer, a health coach, a nutritionist, even, you can probably circle all those in there.
Yeah.
You might even lump doctor in. But
I was gonna bring up doctor because you ever meet with your doctor who's 250 pounds and 5'7" or whatever.
That really bothers me also.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Really bothers me also.
Okay.
Because your health and your fitness are by definition reflected in how you look. Yeah. And I know that that's hard and not fair, but that's just the job.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just the job. So this is my thing.
And this is, can I just break in? All within reason. We don't want to, because, a football coach.
So good.
Who played football in college and pro, but now is coaching, maybe his focus is not about being athletic anymore. It's about coaching a whole team. There's, they aren't going to be as fast. They aren't going to look as strong or whatever. And so I think there's, there's tons of football coaches I respect, or basketball coaches who just can't play a full court game anymore. They're older and whatever.
Yeah, I think there's nuance there. I mean,
I wouldn't say nuance.
A lot of
I hate that word.
Gabe hates the word nuance. Number one, a lot of those guys are really old. Or older than your average trainer is going to be. And number two, their coaching is different. Although I still think that a certain message is sent in terms of how you seem to take care of your own body.
Yeah.
But I do think there's a difference between like a football coach and like somebody whose only job is to understand and therefore teach to other people how to be fit and healthy. So that really bothers me, because this is the thing, you guys. If you can't figure out what we call your N of 1, that's you, which is arguably your easiest client, right? Is yourself, right?
Because you can control yourself. You can't control your client.
Most people should be able to at least figure out what works for them. Now, this is one of the biggest issues in the industry, actually, is that trainers, the way that they are born is they have some sort of personal transformation at some point in their life. Maybe they were a fat kid and then they, ate really high protein for a while and they lost some weight. Or maybe they, were really not fit and then they found CrossFit and it transformed them. And so it worked for them. And then the issue there is that they then preach that gospel to everyone else, whether it's a good fit or idea for the other people or not. Right. That's a huge problem in the industry. So, but to back.
So for example, like a woman would, let's say, lose a bunch of weight, intermittent fasting, and then she thinks everyone should do that.
100%.
Yeah.
And we all know those people. All right. Stay away from those trainers also. But backing it up even further, if you can't even figure yourself out, it's like, what are you doing? It's kind of like in the Bible, if you don't have your own kids in order, why are you?
Yeah. Why are you trying to help other kids?
Please don't try to help other kids. You clearly don't understand. Now, granted, there always can be, always feel like I have to qualify what like maybe you have been hit with a horrible case of Cushing's disease, or like maybe something just catastrophically weird has hit your health at a point in time and you haven't figured it out. I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking to people.
And we've had friends that have had that. Like catastrophic events happen in their life. And
most of them aren't trainers, but it can happen. So I understand we're all human, but like, if you don't have yourself figured out, if you have not learned how to train.
So one listener says it's the same with hairstylists.
Yes. 100%.
If your hair is not nice and you're cutting other people's hair,
like a skincare person, it's like, well, I just, it's a human instinct to be like, well, I don't want to look like,
right.
And of course, you guys, looking like you're, what did I say? If you don't look, what did I say? How did I say it?
You shouldn't be a trainer if you don't look like one.
Don't look like one. It is a relative term, guys, because there is a fit and unfit version of everybody out there, and they're not comparable. There's really lean people. There's naturally very like ripped, muscular people. There's people who aren't. But there, you know what I'm talking about. You can spot someone. It's like, okay, you clearly take care of your body. You clearly understand, at least for you, how to present yourself in a fit, healthy way to the population. So if you cannot figure yourself out, barring some really strange circumstances that might have struck you, which is probably not most of them. I don't know what you're doing. I don't you know what I mean? Like it's very uninspiring, I think, and strange. So I just get yourself together, learn how metabolism works. A lot of trainers have no idea how metabolism works, how the body adapts, and how these things matter over time. And I mean, there you go.
Okay. Number 3.
There you go.
Number 3.
Oh, this is a good one.
It means to your spouse.
It's mean, babe. You have to read them right.
It's
okay.
mean. It's mean.
Yeah,
I see it. I saw the S after the end. It's mean to your spouse to get married and then get fat. And then you put in parentheses. Also, no one really likes the dad bod, and wives, you should care too. Presbyterian problem. Presbyterian problem. Yeah. I'd say Reformed Baptist and Presbyterian problem.
I think it's Presbyterians.
Okay, so let me maybe put this in my own words.
Are the fattest.
Let me put this in my own words here.
I've paid attention. They're the fattest.
Okay. It's tough. We did a show on what do you call that show?
Get married, get fat, I think.
We did a show. You can go back in the archives.
You should, guys.
That, people, this happens a lot.
It does.
You got this, you
bag a good looking spouse.
And then 2 years in the marriage, you've gained 40 pounds or something. And
One
maybe
of them, both of them.
Yeah, whatever. For me, my first year, I was skinny though. I was skinny. For me, our first year or first 2 years of marriage, I gained 30 pounds, but I was like 6'2", 185, dripping wet.
Like half of it.
Yeah. I should be around. I should be between 200 and 210 is probably where I'd like to be.
Yeah.
But we all know that a lot of marriages have this situation.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Oh my god. And for a lot of valid reasons. Like I don't think anybody, if you sat them down and you were like, would you like to get married and then get fat? They'd be like, yes, that sounds great. I don't think anyone's like hoping or trying to do that, but
there's shifts happening. Like, when I was single, I'd go play basketball three times a week
for hours. Yeah.
And then I get married and now I got to go to work. And now my athletic, outtake is like reduced to almost zero.
Yes.
And then also I go from maybe eating 2 meals a day as a single guy.
Yep.
To eating 3 meals a day.
Yes.
With my wife, and then not working out. So we aren't trying to, let's say, poke at the change of life. What we're trying to maybe help prevent or help you kind of think about that transition and how to handle it better.
Well, and I mean, I don't even know if this is a show where we give solutions. We're just saying our thoughts, and I feel fine about that. But you know what? Like, there's legit reasons why the weight gain happens. I mean, you have babies, stress, lack of sleep, just getting older,
metabolism slows down, whatever. Yeah.
Like there's so many reasons, obviously, but it's just the fact that nobody's doing anything about it. I mean, like, seriously, if you are a Christian, you believe in monogamy, you are like, no cheating. Cheating is wrong. Porn, don't do it.
My wife got fat. And you got to stay with her.
And I mean, you just went ahead and just roped that spouse in, locked him in for life. And then you're just like, I'm just going to let myself go. I think that's really selfish. Okay. Yeah. And again, no quarter November. I know I sound mean. And there are a few of you out there who are literally like dealing with one of those situations where your weight blows up and you have no idea why. And I know that can be a thing. I'm not talking to you, but just that creep of just not taking care of yourself. Even though that your spouse is you are their only option. I think that's wrong. You should get on that, guys.
All right. Number four, having a theology that is pro having multiple children, but not just as pro taking excellent care of mom's body throughout the process is wrong and does real damage.
Wrong. It's wrong.
So
and I see it all the time.
Well, I think also this is like, you got to, what's the right words for this? When people go out to battle, I'm forgetting the word. when people go out to battle and you need to bring people behind to help, what do you call that?
Reinforcement.
Reinforcement.
There we go.
When your wife is pregnant and carrying your child and sacrificing her body for that, we know she's fighting the curse. I mean, that's Genesis. This is in the beginning, right?
It's hard.
It's hard. Yeah. And it's a battle, and there's spiritual warfare there, and it's fighting the curse, and it's fighting Satan, and it's fighting death, and it's bringing salvation to the world. It's like that process with your wife is you got to help her not only be a reinforcement to her, but bring reinforcement to her through other means.
Yeah.
It's like and especially between I'll just handle this one.
No, you're doing it,
especially in between babies.
Yeah.
I mean, your wife's body just went through a train wreck.
Yeah.
And sometimes her abs are out. Sometimes her, what's what happens when your rib tears and you got a protrusion or whatever you call it. What is it?
Your rib just goes like this and there's a protrusion.
What do you call it?
Are you trying to say hernia?
Yes.
Gosh, we've been married for so long. I can just read your mind. That was the worst description of a hernia I have ever heard. But please keep going because I am really enjoying. What else do you think happened?
My point is there's all sorts of medical damage that can happen with the wife's body.
Physical toll.
Physical toll.
Yes.
And you need to help her and bring reinforcement to that. And especially if you guys want to have a bunch of kids, great, awesome. But help your wife during that process, bring reinforcement. Don't let her body just get more and more into train wreck mode, because each pregnancy, if you don't help her heal, her body will get worse.
Yes, you're right about that. It compounds.
It compounds. And so I think we're very, especially our community, very pro baby, very pro having children. We believe in the covenant blessings of God. All that's really good. But the reason why your wife was bedridden by the time she has her fourth baby, the doctor says you need to be in the bed the last 4 months or 3 months of the pregnancy or whatever. It's because you didn't reinforce and help her get her body back to health before you went into the second pregnancy, third pregnancy, fourth pregnancy. That's why it compounded over time. We've had multiple situations in our community where that's happened over time. And it's like, you need to be thinking how you can help your wife, not just spiritually, emotionally present and all that stuff, but how you can help her recover as you guys are growing your family. It's all good, but you're actually damaging and putting more, putting your wife through a hell that she doesn't need to go through if you actually help her in this way.
Yeah, man, actually,
there you go.
Pretty good. That was pretty good. I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it's baffling to me. I don't, and I just want to be clear. I think most of like the husbands, dads, whatever listening are not like wanting to help they're not like, I want my wife's body to fall apart and I don't care about her health. Like, I don't think any of you are thinking that, but I think there is an unbelievable just like naivete or just empty gaping hole in the air, just in what you were just talking about, where we are all about, let's have the babies. Let's have a lot of babies. Let's stack them in tight. Let's go. All of that, which, theoretically, again, I'm all for. But it is so backwards and wrong to do that when you're not taking care of mom's body from start to finish. And I mean, going in to a pregnancy, be it your first one or your fifth one, doing well. That means you've lost the weight that you needed to lose from the pregnancy before. That you are like hormonally stable and balanced. Your abs have been pulled back together. Your pelvic floor is in a good place. Your physical, ideally, your overall just physical fitness is high, because that's going to greatly help her grow and carry this next baby, be a functioning mom and wife while she does it, labor and deliver better, and not have be more likely to have there's many conditions, preeclampsia, gestational diabetes that we see all the time that can be life-threatening, honestly, to mom and baby. And the sad thing is, in a lot of cases, not all, but in a lot of cases, they're very preventable. So like, where is our emphasis on that? I feel like we're like killing it here and then completely dropping the ball over here. And let me tell you guys, I get the wreckage, okay? And it's ugly and it's sad. And I don't think anyone's doing it on purpose, but I don't think that's not good enough. So, and I'm hitting the dads hard on this. I'm not saying, like, obviously moms, women, you need to advocate for yourselves. You need to be like, okay, okay, I had the time to get back at it. I'm going to put the work and I'm going to do the boring rehab exercises. I know they're boring. I'm going to get back into the gym or the program or with whatever it takes. Women do well with a trainer or with a program because we like just being told what to do. And I don't mean that like, please just tell me what, in all of life, but when you're exhausted and you're not sleeping well and you're the one making all the executive decisions for the household and for the children and for everybody all day long, it is really nice to have just 30 minutes to 45 minutes of your day where someone else should just tell me what to do. Like, keep me accountable, keep me going, give me some encouragement, tell me what to do. We really thrive on that. And you need to make that available to her. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Like it needs to be your idea. Women are often very bad at advocating for themselves. Taking the time or spending energy
and
on
women
themselves.
Don't get any hurt feelings about your husband wanting to help you between pregnancies. Get healthy.
Also,
it's
don't
like,
be all weird about it.
It's like he's honestly being helpful to you, you know.
Yes, and then we don't do it ourselves very well. We're always like too
because you're always sacrificing for your family and your kids and all that stuff.
I don't want to spend the money, the budget thing, you guys. I cannot even tell you how over
you're
it
gonna spend more on the medical problems in 5 years than you would.
My gosh, yes, you will, and like you will pay for it later. In human flesh, okay? Like an actual body that is just like almost past the point of no return. So stop making stupid budget excuses. Also, do what you have to do. And this also, I know you want to say something too. This also means, you guys, to the best of your ability, wisely spacing your pregnancies out. It does take a certain amount of time. I'm not saying you need a 5-year gap between each kid, but you need some time, okay, to pull that body back together so that you can then do it again. All right. So just be mindful of this stuff. And husbands, I think you need to be leading the charge. And we have a lot of work to do in this area. And
I'll just add, when the wife pregnancy is a train wreck, it's a war. But it's odd that we don't kind of help our wives kind of recuperate and stuff like that. But when a man goes to war, we know he needs to be strong. We know he needs to be physically healthy.
I mean,
but then we don't help our wives in that way. It's just kind of an odd.
Totally. Like any other athletic event, physical event, you would train for it. Okay. That's going into it. You would do the thing. And then there's all this conversation about recovery and how can we do better next time, blah, 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 blah. For some reason, even though birth is one of the most athletic events on like humanly possible on the planet, we do not train for it. We do not care. We do not think about it. We literally tell women to eat as much as they want. They often eat trash, give themselves diabetes, gain more weight than they need to. And then it just, all that damage just compounds. It's so backward. And you're right. We have a huge cultural disconnect because we would never approach going to war, running a marathon, a season of basketball the same way ever.
All right. Number 5. We made it to number 5 so far. If you've raised picky, I like this one. If you raise picky eaters, it's your fault and you need to apologize to your kids and help them fix the problem.
Say you're sorry. It's your fault.
Yeah. And this is, there's so many different influences here on this. I think in a lot of, I'd say a lot of it is because parents are maybe discipline shy on their first child when they're young, a new mom and new dad.
Or all of them, but
or all of them. New mom and a new dad, maybe just a little hesitant to discipline, even though they know their child's like obviously rebelling in the high chair.
Oh my gosh. And they're like smarter than you by the time they're 1.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they don't
I would say generally speaking, the kids know they're wrong before you know they're wrong. Right.
I mean, it's early.
All
I know is it's early.
But I would, start discipline. I think it's pretty clear by the time, there's 6 to 7 months and maybe even before that, where I think a little pinch starts to help them on things.
I can't remember.
I think it's a long time ago. I think it's like 5, 6, 7 months when we started.
I know by 1, we were like, okay.
Oh, by 1, we were all over it. By 1, they were getting real spanks.
A lot of babies at 6 to 7 months aren't eating. They're not eating solid foods.
But my point is, they know when they pull mom's hair, they're wrong.
Yeah, maybe.
So my point is, you discipline them, not just about, don't discipline them when they finally get into the high chair and they start disobeying. It's like you discipline them way before that, when they're touching a light socket, when they're doing this, and by the time they get into the high chair, they already know kind of the relationship of what it means to obey mom.
Probably help
right in the high chair, and then so as you guys, because eating habits start in the high chair. Yeah. Right, and so if you aren't kind of shepherding, guiding, helping your children eat the food that you put in front of them and to be thankful for the food you put in front of them, well, that's only going to get worse if you don't discipline them for that when they're 6 months, 7 months, 8 months old and starting to chew food or whatever. Well, it's only going to get worse, and it's going to be harder to change them when they're 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. So that's
yeah.
the root. That's the root of it.
Yeah,
I know you have a lot of thoughts here.
Well, I mean, I agree with that. It's just that's your kids' taste buds form early, and what you as a parent, being 100% the responsible adult in this scenario with your whatever 1-year-old and 2-year-old kid, you are responsible for what you put in front of them, what you allow them to eat, and what you require them to eat. And it is actually not that hard. Obviously, some kids are more stubborn than others. Some kids will put up a fight more than others, but
then some kids got an allergy, which complicate the whole thing.
That rarely is that really the big issue. I mean, there's a small exception of kids who can't have certain foods, and I'm not talking to you. Obviously, I'm not telling you to force feed your child something that will give them anaphylaxis, but for the most part, it's just taking the time to have your child obey you, number one. And number two, you're not just doing it to be an authoritarian. You're not just like pulling the parent card, but you're doing it because that is the kind of food that you want them to develop a taste for. That's the kind of food that's going to nourish their body. And it's 100% the kind of food that as they get older, they need to be able to eat. And I cannot, so many moms that I talk to look me in the eye and they just say, I can't make that. My kids won't eat it. And I'm just like what in the world? This is your fault. Do you not understand that you're the parent and they're the kid? And by the time that kid's a high schooler, it's actually pretty dang hard because you let that cement, harden a long time ago. And these kinds of foods, broccoli, chicken, whatever it is, legit taste bad to them because you let that happen. And it's really, honestly, you guys, it's not that hard to get kids to eat healthy food. And I am not saying to be cruel. I'm not saying get an entire can of lima beans, which are disgusting, and make them eat the entire can. I'm just saying hey, we need to develop a taste for meat. We need to develop a taste for eggs, most vegetables, most fruits, things like that. If you can tell they really don't love something, maybe you have them just have a little bit of it. You don't have to force feed them like an entire bucket of it, but just, within reason, they should be eating what's for dinner. And that is ideally nutritious food because that's what you're making for the rest of the family. They need to eat what they're served. They need to eat what's for dinner. And it's not that hard. Okay. You literally can present them this food. You can have a throwdown about it or not. You can also just say, this is dinner. If you're not hungry for it now, that's fine. It will be in the fridge when you do get hungry. And you guys, hunger wins every time. All right.
They will eventually eat it.
Hunger wins every time. You don't even have to make it a big thing. Just if you would like to eat,
you can eat this later.
This is what's for dinner. And if you don't, you can go to bed hungry. It's not going to kill them. Okay. There's just so much here where it's laziness. You're busy, you're tired. It's the end of the day. You don't want to have a battle at dinner. And you're just like, I'd rather just give them chicken nuggets. It's easier. I understand that, but that's laziness because this lesson is important and it's how you love your child. And it's also for a lot of women in particular. We like to do things that we call love that is not loving. And allowing your child to eat garbage their entire formative childhood, setting them up for utter nutritional failure as an adult is not love. So stop doing it. And if it's too late now, if you're like, oh my gosh, that was me, this is me. My kids are now in their teens. They're so picky. They only eat foods that are white and, shaped like a noodle. You need to sit them down and you need to take some ownership there, I think, because it's your fault. It really is. And changes need to be made. You're still their parents. So, but I think you need to lead with literally just be like, please forgive me. I really dropped the ball here as a parent, mom, dad, both of you, whoever it was. And then talk about how you can start baby stepping back to good health because it's a very big deal. And this is one of the most impactful ways that you can train up your child and take care of their health in the short term and the long.
And especially in their younger years, this is a great area to disciple them in.
Yes.
Because you're thinking about teaching your kids how to be thankful. This is a great place.
Tons of lessons.
This is a great place here. It's like
tons of lessons.
And of course they might not be their favorite food every time, which is no one gets that. Yeah. But that's a great way to teach them to be thankful. To teach them to be thankful every time, whether it's like super awesome, good food mom to like, hey mom, that was great. Thank you.
Right.
So you're teaching them a thankful heart in that. But also, and he said this earlier, this is definitely a reflection on you and dad, like mom and dad.
Yeah.
This whole relationship of food in your family.
You created them.
You're teaching your kid to be a Pharisee, a Nazi, Pharisee when it comes to food. I like this, I don't like that, that kind of, and that's and it's reflecting kind of on you guys. So there's issues and there's layers to this. I mean, mom actually might not be a good cook and needs to change and needs to get better. That could really be a problem.
You might need to salt your food.
Yeah. In the Northwest, when I first moved up to the Northwest, I was working at this breakfast restaurant called Pantry while I was going to University of Idaho. And I remember a restaurant, because you obviously ate the food working at that restaurant. You yourself would eat the food. And I remember ordering eggs and hash browns and like just no flavor in it.
Yeah, you said that.
The Northwest is very different about their food than the South. It's really funny.
Yeah. You do need to season your food, moms.
Yeah, so maybe this is a reflection of mom. Maybe your kids don't like the food because it's actually a reflection of mom's cooking abilities. But if it's good food, if it's good cooking, it's not always the best meal. It's not always the favorite food for the child or whatever. This is a great, and then your child becomes kind of picky eater over time because of that. Well, then this is probably a reflection of your ability to discipline and love your child in that way,
Well, and
teaching them to be thankful.
Also, maybe dad's not backing mom up. You know what I mean? Because
maybe dad's doing the same thing to mom. Only eating it's not his favorite food, so he only eats a little bit and says he's done.
Dads, my goodness, don't get me started. Yeah, none of that, please.
And then lastly, I would say, in our world, I mean, there's all sorts of issues going on with like vaccines and stuff like that, and so something's happening where our kids are getting the weirdest allergies ever in the world. Like in the 90s, I knew no one of a peanut allergy. None of my friends had a peanut allergy.
Yeah, everybody's saying that.
Right, and then now, like every 3 people I meet or 5, whatever, have a peanut allergy.
Yeah.
So we've done something there that obviously is complicating this and adding challenges to this of, feeding your kids food and making them eat food.
Yeah. I'll just say that most of the conversations I have with parents has nothing to do with intolerances or allergies. Like barely ever. Every once in a while, it'll be a kid who's like my sister Abby, who's just like legit.
Yeah. Her sister's like,
so the challenge is more like, I just don't know what to give them.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's just, they don't like it.
Yeah.
That's
and I would say lastly, they don't like it. Annie, I love the phrase that my wife uses, nutrient dense food, food that's packed with good nutrients and meat and, that kind of stuff. But part of the challenge and part of the reason why your kid's so picky is maybe because there's no MSGs in what they're getting, because you've given them, fishies and chips. Every time you give them a snack, it's like fishies, chips,
just not real
oatmeal
food.
Bar or something. It's like you fed them all this junk food for the snacks, and then of course it comes to like dinner time when you're like trying to get them real protein and real, whatever. And no wonder they don't like it, because they're so used to the candy or the MSG or the sugar fix that's in that candy bar or whatever, that they're in this position because you've actually been kind of short-circuiting their food process.
Yeah, I mean, your brain's reaction and just the way you train your taste buds is going to affect.
The kid's going to want that MSG hit.
Yeah, your kids the rest of your life, and that again, that's on the parents.
So,
do you want to do just the one more?
No, I want to leave that one for the next time. It's a great lead off.
Are you sure?
It's hilarious because we're you got to pick up the kids. Wait, do you got 10 minutes?
I do.
Oh, we can hit that one. Just the one last comment there, real quick, because I think this is an important part of this issue is how do you handle kids snacks? Because I mean, obviously, kids need more food than just dinner, lunch, and it's like that's a real issue, and so. But I think the snack thing is also played into the picky eater thing.
Totally. Yeah. 2 things on that. Number 1, beef up your kids' protein consumption at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Do not let them skip breakfast. Do not let them eat a low protein breakfast. Okay. They can have oatmeal or something, that's fine, but it needs to come along with some Greek yogurt or an egg or a couple eggs, something like that.
So you're saying a bowl of cereal is probably a
terrible way to start your day,
because it's just all sugar. Now it does have milk in it.
It's garbage. It's a garbage way to start your day, and it's just going to set them off at the beginning of the day with a blood sugar roller coaster, which is going to cue them to go snack again.
Snack.
Yes. Yeah. So number 1, they just need to eat more protein. So that brings you back to, you got to train their taste buds. You got to teach them to actually eat at meal times.
Yeah.
You need to kindly require them to do that.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we're eating. You need to eat it.
It's dinner.
Yes.
You're eating dinner.
Protein is going to help them have more stable blood sugar and not be as snackish because they're going to be fuller because they actually ate at their meal times. And secondly, if they are, sometimes kids, like our kids, sometimes when they're growing, you can tell they're growing, they're doing a sport, they're doing PE.
Yeah.
Like
it's a busy week.
Yeah. And they're legit hungry. I have no problem as long as they're eating hefty meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
You're checking their school lunchbox, and it's not just like,
uneaten sandwich,
an apple and a meat stick, or just like, make sure they're really legit eating at their meals. And beyond that, if they're still hungry, I have no problem with them having snacks also.
Yeah.
Just be aware of what the content of those snacks are. Treat a snack like a mini meal. It should still be a protein centric. So like a hard boiled egg and an apple, apple slices and peanut butter
and cheese stick or something.
A cheese stick and some berries, like still mostly real whole food, nutrient dense food, because it's going to serve them better. It's going to help them to feel better. And so just, it's not like never snack, but just what kind of snacks are you giving them? What are you buying? Right. Because whatever you buy, you're going to eat. And ultimately they won't need to snack as much. And this is true of adults even more so if you're eating enough at your meals and you're keeping those meals protein centric. So there you go.
Yeah. So the snack thing, a lot of times mom defaults to very easy snacks that they know their kids are going to like because she wants to make her kids happy.
And she's exhausted and tired. Maybe because she's working too much. I don't know. Full circle.
But I guess that, what I'm getting at is snacks sometimes are almost more influenced by mom's emotions to please her kids. Yes. Right?
Yes. It makes you feel good to be like, here's a cookie. It just makes you feel good.
My kid loved it.
Doesn't make your kid feel good a lot of the time. It makes you feel good.
Or just put your kids on a roller coaster.
Totally.
So like, mom, get your feelings out of the snacks.
Get your feelings out of most things, Mom.
Okay. Last thing here. Last one. And we're actually probably looks like we might do next show on New Quarter November 2, but
it's so great.
This one's hilarious.
Why
did you put this in
put
here?
It in there
this
for
is
you.
Funny. Women shouldn't be astronauts. Now, obviously, we need to tell the story then. I think that's what you're getting at. We have to tell the story.
We're going to explain. And I don't actually agree with this. This is one of our biggest fights ever. And this also illustrates the level to which Gabe and I can fight about anything. Okay. And for reference, I have no interest in being an astronaut, but I still fought with you about this. And
do you want me, or do you tell the story? I'm actually kind of nervous here about this.
You usually tell it wrong.
No, I tell it wrong.
Yeah, you usually tell it wrong. No.
That's
okay,
funny.
so
Go ahead.
What year do you think it was when?
This is probably like third year marriage, I would say. Second year marriage.
So like
it was early on.
Early-ish 2000s, I guess.
Well, we got married in 2005, so.
Okay, medium 2000s.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
It's early.
Were we driving around in Spokane?
Yes, we were driving to Spokane, but this is not the time that we got pulled over.
No, this is a different time.
Sometimes you can buy.
We got in a fight and the cop pulled us over. And I looked at my wife and the cop pulled us over. I was like, yeah, we deserve this. God's judging us right now.
And I was like, you deserve it. God is judging you. Anyways, this is different, but we were driving to Spokane. So this was the time. I don't know if our listeners can remember, but
you look up the articles. You'll be able to Google the articles.
A big story hit the news, and it was like on People magazine. It was everywhere, of basically an astronaut love triangle.
Yes,
here in the U.S. Yeah, and so it's been a while, but there was. We were talking about it because it was just so funny that was even in the news. So there was like.
Apparently, this male astronaut, was lovers with two female astronauts, and had broken up with one, and was with lovers with the other.
Was with the other, and
then she found out when he broke up, or some detail. Well, anyways, one lover found out about the other lover is what happened, and then that lover, the girl, she put on an astronaut diaper so she could drive for 2 days to go kill the other lover.
Yes, before he took off on his next mission,
something like that.
So she had to wear a special astronaut diaper, which I don't even know if that's
a thing. Yeah, I guess. That's a thing. And so she did that and drove in the car
to try to murder him.
And we turned this into a fight. And here's how I got started. I said, we were talking about the story, whatever, and I was like, and that's why women shouldn't be astronauts.
Exactly. That was his main takeaway. Not like these people are sociopaths and like none of them should be astronauts. Or he was like, and this is why women shouldn't be astronauts.
Yes.
And I was
true statement.
What do you mean? I can be a good astronaut. And again, I just want to clarify, you guys, that I don't have any desire to be an astronaut. I feel like that ship is sailed.
The desire was never there.
I'm locked into a different life now. I think it would be time consuming.
We turned this into a fight. It got into a legitimate fight where forgiveness had to be extended.
I think he still believes women shouldn't be astronauts.
100%.
I still firmly think that a woman could be an astronaut. And
no, it doesn't cut with the grain of how God made them.
See?
Yeah. I think women can do all sorts of things that they shouldn't do. I think men should do all sorts of there's all sorts of things they can do that they shouldn't do.
You're never going to change my mind on this.
Oh, really?
No.
You're
no.
still. We haven't talked about this in a long time.
You're
still for the women astronaut thing?
I think I could be a better astronaut than you. I'm better at math.
That's not what it is. I think you could be a better fighter pilot than me. You got to make it through
astronaut school.
I think you can be a better fighter pilot than me, but that's not your job.
I don't think I'd be a better fighter pilot than you.
I'm just saying, what if? What if? We don't know this, so what if? It's not how God built you.
Play
it's
the
not.
Music.
It's not the grain that God has made you cut in.
Do the thing with the music.
Are you done?
Oh, I'm done. I got to go pick up Vita from. I know I got to take her to the.
Our listeners are like, what is happening?
They just got a tiny sneak peek into what we can fight about.
So that story ended up being a very. It's a classic story that we tell in our marriage about don't fight about stupid
shouldn't
things.
Be. I mean, I know we don't take our own advice. 1, 2. 3, 4 guys. We can do another show. We got a lot of. I could add to that too. I could add to more.
Yeah.
All right. It was pretty good. Hurt a couple feelings, maybe.
Probably.
All
right, y'all. Actually, cross politics happening and starting here in about 4:10 Eastern, 4:10 Pacific time. That would be 7:10 Eastern time. We got Calvin Robinson coming on. We'd love to see you guys join us on that show. It'll be a lot of fun. If you guys know Calvin Robinson, he's a big UK Christian TV host personality who basically got kicked out and driven out of the UK for free speech. So it's gonna be fun having him on the show. So thank you for joining Waterbreak. Tune in. Make sure you guys share the show. Share with your friends. This week it's wine break, so have some wine with us, and we appreciate as you guys share the show. It really helps us. So thank you very much for joining Waterbreak.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll be back here next week, same time.
See you next week.
America is a country that was founded for the purpose of allowing Christians to do their duty before God and not to have their consciences ruled by the doctrines and commandments of men. Reese Fund exists in order to see the 10 Commandments properly applied, not just as a plaque on the wall, but to actually be used in business as though they're commandments from God that we're supposed to obey. Our goal is to find businesses and to buy them and to build them up. We want to find manufacturing businesses and use them to make sure that we can maintain our capacity to do things here. Reese Fund, Christian capital, boldly deployed.